Hello everyone. I thought I would do kind of a fun reading or just a chat because I did this thing. So I ordered a reading from an Etsy reader. Now I have before I got an Etsy spell, a good one. I would never put a spell on it. I mean, I can do my own. I would never put negative spells on other people. I asked for like a good luck spell for me, which I believe really works only if you really believe in it and help manifest it. But yeah, I did that, and then I was like, well, let me look into, because it was John's birthday, right? And real quick about that, last week Thursday was John's birthday, and everyone everywhere celebrated, which is great. That's beautiful. And I didn't feel him around me as much on his actual birthday last Thursday, and I was kind of disappointed about it. And I ordered this reading in the morning, and it didn't show up. It was supposed to be like a 24-hour thing. It never showed up. And I got, well, I was like, just kind of sad, you know. But that's life and you deal with it. But here's the thing. Tuesday was the day when I heard Imagine when I was 18. Tuesday, it was a Tuesday. And I heard Imagine, and that's when I woke up to him. That was October 9th. And that was the day last week when you started off the day with a heart-shaped orb, and I did hear Imagine that day. So I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if numbers are correct or actual days of the week, because we're talking about like a time loophole when it's almost like when you look at a clock, and the clock and the both hands of the clock and the seconds and the minutes and the hour and everything sort of aligns and the gears all align together. That's what I think time is, and that's why I've always felt time travel might be possible, because when they all match up almost like in a line of time of events throughout time, it creates like a portal. Not to get really weird and philosophical here, but sometimes I wonder if it's more like the day and the energy than the number. You know what I'm saying? So like last Thursday was technically John's birthday, and I did get like my phone did some weird stuff. It was really fuzzy for an hour or two, and I was like, what is going on with this? But it was more like Tuesday, and that is indeed when he sent the heart-shaped orb. Okay, anyway, so Thursday I was sad. I didn't get my reading, but yeah, something weird happened with that. And I wrote her the other day. I said, you know, Etsy is saying, and I didn't, no, yeah, I didn't say his name. I don't like to tell readers his name. I just want them to pick him up without me saying who it is, because then they get weird. I've had so many readers, and not a ton, because I don't go around asking for a million readings. I would say like 5 readers over the last 5 years or so is what I've had. But they all get weird, and they all almost get mad at me. And so I don't like to mention his name. And I didn't ask, I just asked this lady about past life. I asked about, was I Mary Queen of Scots? And then I said, was there a soul or spirit on the other side who has a message for me? Okay. So, get back in my brain here, because I get really flustered. So I didn't get the reading. Hadn't mentioned his name. It was just all whatever circumstance, but I was kind of sad about it. And then, okay, yeah, Etsy said it'll be delivered on, because I had a weird glitch, and that's what freaked me out. It said your message has been delivered, and then it like erased, and then nothing happened, and it kept saying the reading hadn't been sent, but it said something weird like it had been sent. Stuff that happens to me all the time. So I waited, you know, waited over the weekend, waited, and it said it was supposed to be a 24-hour reading. It said, Etsy said, oh, it'll be delivered on October 13th, and then it said October 14th, and it said September 4th. So I wrote her and I said, you know, I don't want to bug you at all, and I'm perfectly happy to wait for this reading, but something's weird with Etsy, and I was just wondering what the delivery date is supposed to be. So, but then she did the reading. She said, oh, you know, there was a glitch on my side too. Very weird. And she said, I've got the reading, and here it is. So she sent it to me, and it was it was well worth the wait, okay? So let me read to you, and this is a woman who lives in Ukraine, and I told her how much we love and support the people of Ukraine. Anyway, it was a beautiful reading, so let me read it to you, okay? She said, hi dear, I've completed your reading. Apologies if there was a delay. Sometimes we experience blackouts and I may lose connection, which causes a delay. Amy, as I opened the space for your past life reading, I felt an immediate pull toward a life of nobility. one surrounded by immense responsibility, emotional depth, and unresolved injustice. The energy around the first question, whether you were Mary, Queen of Scots, called forth the High Priestess, the Tower, and the Eight of Swords. These are not conclusive identifiers of being her soul exactly, but rather point to a striking resonance with her soul archetype. And this is something I've always felt too, that maybe I wasn't exactly her, but I was like her. I was probably a tutor or part of her soul, which I felt like John was part of James Joyce. So I say soul seed. She says here, she says soul fragment. So she says, you carry a thread. Pardon my voice, again, allergies. You carry a thread that is karmically bound to her energy, perhaps not her reincarnation, but a closely aligned spirit sister or soul fragment from the same ancestral line or energetic pool. I've always felt that. I mean, maybe I was, like, I don't feel like I was her mother. I feel like it was more like I was her, part of her, or a cousin, a sister, half-sister, probably not Elizabeth, but I could have been. But I felt more like aligned with Mary's energy, because a lot of things she went through, like she was stuck in a tower in the last years of her life, communication was cut off, her only friends were like pets, her dog, and I totally feel that. So I feel like soul fragment totally makes sense. Okay, anyway, the High Priestess suggests a life of contemplation, spiritual insight, and secrets. You were once, and look at how my channel, how I get shadow banned all the time and they keep cutting me off. Isn't that interesting? Because that's what they did to Mary too. You were once deeply intuitive, perhaps possessing gifts that were misunderstood or hidden due to cultural or political limitations. The Tower echoes traumatic upheaval, betrayals, collapse of status, or even imprisonment. This links clearly to a noble life cut short, unjustly or under forceful conditions. The Eight of Swords confirms a sense of mental confinement and injustice that you still carry. In your present life, this may show up as a fear of losing control or being silenced when you speak your truth, and the same thing with my books. My books get shadow banned, and nobody buys my books. I can't even get the money. So let's say somebody buys it, I don't even get the money. I am shadow banned like in every part of my life, and that's not a joke. That's not me being paranoid. It literally has happened to me my entire life. And the more I try, the harder it is. Okay, so anyway. This emotional scar impacts your current relationships. You may feel overly responsible in emotional entanglements or fear deeper bonds due to the possibility of history repeating. Spiritually, this is a lifetime of clearing, of slowly freeing yourself from past vows of silence and guilt. So this is a lifetime of me clearing a lot of that, which I've tried. It is hard though when things keep repeating. Anyway, now regarding your second question, whether there's a soul from a past life who has a message for you. The cards that appeared are the Six of Cups, which is very karmic, the Moon, and Judgment. This is a significant combination. The Six of Cups confirms a karmic soul's presence. It feels masculine, she says. Perhaps a past life father, older brother, or even a partner you are deeply tied to. Now, I've always said that John has told me that he was like father, lover, brother, and then like sister, mother on my side. So yeah, that makes total sense. Okay, a partner you are deeply tied to. The Moon shows that their message is currently hidden, surfacing only during dreams, and I've had all these dreams of John, or moments of stillness. You may have already encountered his presence as a strange familiarity in dreams, or as an intense emotional reaction to certain historical events. Isn't that interesting? Locations or stories. If any location or time period ever inexplicably moved you to tears, yes, or curiosity, yes, that is likely where your past entanglement sits. So she didn't say John Lennon, but for me, that really confirms a lot. I mean, that's very strong right there. The message he brings through the Judgment card is the call to free yourself from emotional prisons. This spirit is showing you that your soul survived grief and betrayal in many forms. Nothing about how his mother, Julia, she lost him. They took him away from her. And yeah, they took him away from her. And Julia, and I've told you that I used to have dreams of being hit by a car, and I would stand over my body and go, I'm dead. That happened to me. And when I was 18, 19, I had like 4 dreams of being hit by a car, and I died in the dream. And it makes sense that I was John's mom, and that, pardon me, and in all these lifetimes we've been like father, mother, sister, brother, lover. Anyway, but when they took John away from Julia, and Aunt Mimi pretty much took John, and then he would go visit her, and he would leave, and she would go in the corner and play a record called My Son John and cry. Now, from the very first time I found out about John and started reading about his life when I was 18, when I woke up and all that, and I read about Julia and how much Julia loved him, and then he took him, and they would describe like how the funny things John would do and get in trouble and read these Just William books and all these things, and they described Julia, and I was like, that's, why do I feel so strongly connected to that, to her, and to like John as a child, but also John as a human and a man, and but it's like the child thing was like, oh, here I'm only 18, I'm like, oh, I hope I have a son just like John, and and isn't that funny? I was so delighted reading all these things about his childhood. And I used to paint my nails red and my hair in 1940s style and red lipstick, and I had even had like 1940s dresses, and I went through this whole 1940s phase. It's just really, anyway, keep going. Oh, in my life after the divorce, when my kids would have to go, and I still feel this, when my kids would go to their dad's house, and it would be like a Friday, and I would just sit there and cry. Like I would sit in the hallway and just cry, and I'd have to drink a beer, and still, when they would go, and even though I need time to myself and I've learned how to enjoy my own time, I would literally just be filled with this grief that was like crippling grief. And that's something, Becca, I think I passed over that. She said, this is interesting about Mary Queen of Scots, the connection. She said, where is that? Maybe that's later on. Okay, well, I'll keep reading here. Okay, the message he brings to the judgment card is for yourself for emotional prisons. Your soul survived grief and betrayal in many forms, but now you're no longer bound by these cycles. You do not need to prove your worth through sacrifice anymore. Well, that's hard. It's hard for a mother to not sacrifice. Any tendency in this life to overgive, yes, make yourself smaller to keep peace, yes, or endure loss for the sake of others. Think about having to give your own son away to your sister because you're told that you're not a good enough mother and that it'll be better for him, and then you just end up dying. Think about that. Julia went through that. These are karmic bond habits, not obligations, it says. He asks that you reclaim your voice, your space, and your belief in your own power. You are meant to speak, write. I just finished writing a book about John again. Lead or express. Suppressing your emotions keeps the past alive, which I kind of want, Expressing them dissolves the chains. Finally, I drew a rune to help guide your path forward, and Perthro came forward. This is Root, a mystery of karma, unfolding of unlocking secrets. It's a powerful sign that you are meant to explore your ancestral roots, your intuitive gifts, and your ability to shape fate rather than be shaped by it, which is really hard for me. There's more for you to uncover about yourself, but the veil will lift gently. Pay attention to dreams, repeating symbols, and emotional reactions in seemingly unrelated moments. Well, I've already figured out the whole thing with John and I. It's just like the rest of the world doesn't want to hear about it. You know what I mean? Like, I've been wanting to talk about this, and I always feel like people shut me down when I start to talk about John, but it was just like a huge ground, especially when I saw him in the sky in 2020 and on the ground, and I have a video recording of his voice and all these things, and people just don't want me to talk about him, but it was like a huge moment in my life. This thing has been a huge thing of my life. In conclusion, Amy, you are not Mary Queen of Scots in spirit's direct form, but your soul carries a deep karmic tie to the kind of feminine spiritual leadership and suffering, yes. You were once a powerful, intuitive woman bound by duties and loss. That past echoes now, but your current life brings an opportunity to choose way differently. Let love enter, but not as duty. Enter it as freedom. Let purpose arrive, not sacrifice, but as joyful creation. So I found that interesting, and I know I passed over something that she said about Mary Queen of Scots where she had loss of like her potential children. And see, I felt that, and then Julia had that too. I'm just sure I was Julia. John's mother, but also in many lifetimes. See, I also feel like I connect a lot with just other people, but Julie is very strong. And it would explain this whole thing I've had my whole life. Would it not? I mean, and I've always told you guys that there was that one person that said, yeah, in a past life, you were both mystics and musicians, and you would stroll around in the garden at night, and you had like a whole friend group of musicians and mystics, and when she said that, I was like, I could see it, and I saw like John and I in this past life, and under the moonlight, and we were like, okay, in each life we're gonna find each other, and that's what happened. Like, I mean, talk about being 18, and I was even before that, but 18 was really when I was ready, I guess. And understanding that someone on the other side is that you know them and they're part of your life, and you have this huge thing in your life where you wake up like your brain is ripped open. And I got it, and then we have this communication between us, which is really cool. Anyway, thought I would share that reading. See, an $8 reading on Etsy, that's pretty amazing. And I'm not saying don't go get a big expensive reading from people on YouTube, because they're just as good, but this lady was really beautiful, and yeah, and I told her we're praying for her in Ukraine. Man, but I was just so grateful to get that reading. It's beautiful. And ending this, last night, I've kind of dedicated my whole life, have I not, to John, and myself. I mean, I've written a lot of things I've written my own songs. I've recorded and sang and done everything. I've done a lot of things. I've written a lot of books. But like last night, as I finished this monster editing thing, I was like, okay, as I lumbered to bed, because when you edit a lot, you feel like your body is just like, ugh, and your brain is mush and everything. And I thought, John, I have really dedicated a lot of my life and time and energy to you with love. And so I hope you realize it. I hope that but I know he does. But that's been a lot. Like, I have done a lot of work for John, and like unknown work, because no one buys my books. No one knows that I exist. So it's been a silent, like the scribe, the scribe that captures and keeps someone's work alive for history. And that's kind of what I've done. Anyway, moving on. I might do a live here because I want to talk about politics, but thanks for listening. Have a great day. Bye.